Hi, I'm Ashley Kalina, and I'm here in beautiful Napa Valley to talk to you about National Get Outdoors Day. I'm here with National Geographic and our friends at Nature Valley. We're here to experience the beautiful outdoors. Now, I'm not the expert here, but I do have a wonderful expert who is going to answer all of your questions and all my questions too. Let me introduce you to Jay.
Hi, Ashley. Welcome to both a Napa Valley Park.
Thank you. So can you tell me and all of our wonderful viewers a little bit more about this park that we're in right now?
Sure. Well, even though it doesn't look like it, what most people think of, we're in Napa Valley, so we're in this woodland setting, but our proximity is really what we're known for the vineyards, for the great wine. But you can kind of have the best of both worlds here by camping, hiking, and then having the access to the valley as well.
So how many trails are there in this park that people can walk on?
Yeah, there's about 10 miles of trails total, and we've got two different trail systems. So this one is along Ritchie Canyon, and you can do loops of up to 6 miles. But what's really great about it is you actually have the access here to the creek, to the redwood trees. You don't have to walk far necessarily to get that access.
And so I'm not an avid hiker. I don't go outdoors that much, but I love experiencing nature. Are these trails like expert trails, or can anybody really kind of get out here and experience the majestic nature out here?
Yeah, like I was saying, the access is really great to the creek, and the creek is one of our main features here, the redwood groves, which we'll probably be seeing here today, and the oak woodlands around as well. So yeah, that's really accessible. If you want something harder, there's some moderately strenuous hikes, which are just going to have that much more variety. 700, 800 foot of elevation gain. So most people can handle that and would enjoy that as well.
Now, you said there's also camping here. What kind of camping is available?
Yeah, we've got the standard car camping that people are used to, but we also have yurts and cabins.
Wait, I'm going to stop you for a second.
Sure.
What's a yurt for people who don't know?
Sure. So a yurt is basically a large tent that's already set up, made of canvas. What's nice is you've got beds in there, and cots and sometimes tables, so it's just kind of a nice glamping option for people who want that.
So what is something that you love telling people on your nature hikes?
Yeah, so there's several things we're going to see. I mean, we'll be seeing the redwood and the Doug fir forest, which is home to this northern spotted owl, so that's the kind of habitat that they need. So that's something that's featured here. We'll see some things as we're just walking along the forest floor that are a little less obvious that I'll point out.
Great.
As well. Yeah.
Now, the northern spotted owl, is that a threatened species? Is that
it
an
is,
endangered
yeah.
species?
It's an endangered species, and it's protected here. And we have some experts come here and study the nests that are further up the canyon as well.
Do they have any special identifying markers? I know there's a lot of really cool birds that live here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, one is they're rarely seen, so it's not a bird that I've seen, except in pictures. So. Yeah.
Right. And I just want to remind all of our fans on Facebook that you should comment below and let me know where you're experiencing your Get Outdoors Day today. And then I'll give you a shout out later on in the show. So what else can we see kind of along the path here that's interesting that people might not pick up?
Yeah, if we walk up a little bit further here, there's something called an oak gall. It rhymes with ball, so it's easy to remember. We should have one coming up here somewhere. Oh, here I see one. Yep. All right, this is a small one. Maybe we can find a larger one as well. All right, different sizes. So let's start with actually the small one's going to be better in this case.
So what is this?
Why don't you go ahead and hold it? Just get a feel for it.
Okay, this is really light. I thought this was going to be really heavy, like almost like a nut, but this isn't a nut,
throw it up
is
in
it?
there. You can give people an idea too.
Yeah, it's really, really light. It's almost like paper.
Right. So these actually, what happens is a wasp actually puts kind of an enzyme on the oak tree. So we're in partial oak woodlands here, and this is an outgrowth on the tree. It doesn't hurt the oak tree. That's why they eventually fall off. But it's actually a wasp for a nest. Now, it's not the kind of nest of, the kind of wasp that we're familiar with that would ruin our picnics, wasps that we often don't see. But go ahead and see if you can find a small hole there.
Oh yeah, there's a very, very, it's like a pin-sized hole right there.
Yeah. So it's actually a wasp nest, and there's sugar inside. Sometimes when it's more decayed, you can see it. It kind of
Like
glistens
sugar,
like sugar.
like people would think of sugar, or
Well, yeah, it looks like that.
Yeah.
It does look like that. It's obviously a little bit different than that,
Yeah.
but you can they actually eat out. So it's both their nest and it's their food source. When they eat out, they actually fly out of this hole. And there's lots of native wasps and native bees that are very small that people don't often see. That's something they can learn about here.
That's amazing. And so the babies live in here too, right? It's like a whole little family home.
Right. I mean, the babies, that's their nest, and they're eating out the sugar and then launching out into the world.
That's so interesting.
And then it falls off the tree. It doesn't
Right.
hurt the tree. It falls off, and then we can find them on the ground like we did, of different sizes, and some that are decaying more and some that are whole like that one.
Very cool. You can see all these tiny little majestic treasures just walking along the paths here. I'm just going to put this down on the ground, keep walking. So let's talk about the birds a little bit more.
Sure.
We were talking about the spotted owl, but what are some other more unique birds that are kind of your favorite to see?
Yeah, so we're known in this park for a lot of woodpecker species, including the Pileated Woodpecker, which is the largest in North America. It's identified by its size. It's as large as a raven, kind of skinnier.
That's a pretty big size
Yeah,
woodpecker.
it's a very noticeable bird. If you see it, you're not going to miss it. The other neat thing, if you don't see it, you can often hear it, and it's going to sound like a construction site. Now, of course, this is public land. We don't have building going on out in the woods, so if you hear something like that, that's louder than what we would think of a normal kind of pecking of a woodpecker, that's going to be the pileated.
So does it sound like a hammer? Would you?
Yeah. It's like a big racket of of building going on, even by one bird. So and we do occasionally see them as well and get a good look at them.
Are there other kinds of woodpeckers that live in this park?
There are acorn woodpeckers. Again, we also feature the oak woodlands, and that's where they live. And they create these granary trees where they store acorns. Now they store more than they really need, and it's kind of interesting too. They sometimes get in competition with gray squirrels, so you'll hear a lot of squabbling sometimes, and jays as well. There's a couple jays here, which are corvids and related to ravens and crows.
I can't imagine what that acorn woodpecker and gray squirrel battle acorn turf is.
Yeah, I've heard it more than seen it. But I know that acorn woodpeckers will go after the gray squirrels, and
Right.
the squirrels get pretty afraid of them in some cases.
So what other kind of mammals can you see around here?
Yeah, there are mountain lions, also known as pumas. Cougars, kind of known as the cat of many names. That would be the largest of carnivores here. Bobcats, deer, which we would occasionally see. Now, some of the larger, the charismatic fauna, you're not going to see, especially in this kind of woodland setting. They're elusive, first of all, of course, and but also given the cover, they're going to be good at hiding, and they
Right.
might see us. We probably won't see them. So it's really the bird life more that, it's a great place to bird. But who knows, if you're out on the trails, who knows what you can see.
Well, speaking of fauna, maybe we should talk about flora for a second, because I see a lot of this green covering on the ground.
Right, that's another, we are, like I said, we're famous for the proximity to the Napa Valley. We're also famous for poison oak. In fact, we used to have t-shirts. So it's going to be strange to say that we love it here, but I'll tell you the reasons why. We need, and it's right here in front of us.
So this is something that we should definitely, I should not go running into
Yeah.
this field of poison oak is what you're trying to tell me.
Yeah, first of all, I'll tell you how to stay safe from
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's key, and then I'll tell you why we love it here as well. It creates an itchy reaction, and I think something like 90% of people. But it's, you want to stay away from it. If you stay on the trail, if you stay in your campsite, you're going to be safe from it. One thing to keep in mind too is if you do think you brush up against it, you can put dirt on it, because it's aerosols, the oils.
So that's something immediately you can do if you think you've come in contact.
Immediately, yeah. I mean, that's not foolproof, but that's something you can do if you do on an ankle or a wrist or something like that.
Okay.
So the animals love it though, so that's the reason we love it. Deer eat it. Looks like maybe we need more deer in the park.
The deer maybe aren't really hungry right now.
Right, yeah. And also birds love it. Like there's 50 species that eat the seeds, the berries, and it's starting to.
And that's
berry
not
out in some
poisonous
places.
for them.
It's not at all. No, it's really just toxic for us. So what I like to tell people is it's a barrier for us. We want to treat it with respect, but we also want to remember that the animal, the bird life loves it. And it's also beautiful. Right now it's green. From June to October it starts to change colors, from red to yellow, almost every color of the rainbow.
Yeah.
And it grows on ground cover like we're seeing here, but also in vines. too.
So if anybody has questions for Jay, especially about poison oak or any other plant that you might see just along the trail here, shoot them over, comment below, and we will take your questions. So I also see another really pretty plant over here. It has a nice pink flower. What is this?
Yeah, and what I like to tell people is once they learn about poison oak, that kind of opens up the other plants, right, with guidance, and you can use all your senses and experience them. So why don't you go ahead and just actually rub that really vigorously and tell me what you smell there.
Ooh, it definitely has a very spicy kind of smell to it.
Yeah, right. So it's, and some people pick up citrus and different things. So it is called spice bush, so it's aptly named. Go ahead and smell the flower, and it's got kind of a different smell.
Okay, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
That straight up smells like Elmer's glue.
Okay.
That's what it smells like to me.
I haven't
Did you
really
just
heard
make
that.
me smell like a flower that smells like Elmer's glue?
I can see what you're saying now. A lot of people say wine, so unless it's just that flower that smells like glue. But,
maybe something's wrong with my nose then.
Yeah,
that smells like
we get wine
Elmer's
mostly,
glue.
but bluish wine maybe. Yeah.
I like it though.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful flower.
Yeah, and this season's a great time. This is actually my favorite season to be here because this is blooming. We might see some California buckeye, or if we don't, for people to know that those are both blooming in late May and early June. I mean, it's competition with the fall too because we've got some beautiful fall foliage here.
So
but I'd say
we'll
this
see
is
like
probably
other
my favorite
wildflowers
season.
like this, just in bloom.
Yeah. The spice bush is really the highlight though right now.
It's a beautiful plant.
Yeah, it's all, some people are really surprised and they think it looks tropical, and it actually is a native plant here as well. So that's surprises people sometimes.
So I hear a lot of birds. We were talking about the owl before, the woodpecker. Are there any other kind of unique birds that you really like?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a bird nerd, so I'm going to keep going on about nerds. I apologize, everybody.
Yeah.
But also, hi, fellow bird nerds.
Yeah, so I'd say I'd go back again to the woodpeckers, and we might be able to see a granary tree up here that's or a log that's fallen down where they're storing the acorns. One neat fact that I'm sure some people know about, but is the length of their tongue. It actually wraps around their skull, and so it's amazing enough that they have a skull that can take the impact of knocking on a tree like that,
right,
and creating the cavities. But once they create that cavity, they have this really long tongue to be able to get to the insects, and we don't really see that part of it, but I think that's just helpful to think of what they're doing with their beak, with their tongue.
I can't even imagine what that's like, a bird that has a tongue that can wrap around its head.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
That's really interesting. So I see a lot of these trees down. If a tree falls, I'm not going to say does anybody hear it if nobody's around, but if there is a redwood that falls in, it covers the path, what would you do? Yeah,
so we've got a trail crew to help move, but we keep it as natural as possible, right? That's why you're seeing a lot of deadfall. We've had with the drought that just ended recently, and then with like heavy rains, a little more tree fall. That's natural, but at the same time, it's a little more than we've had, and we've been busy with keeping the trails clear.
I just want to stop here for a second because I've been seeing just some butterflies as we were just approaching this area. Of course, we're not going to see them now because they just got a little bit camera shy, but Are there some butterflies in this area? There
are a couple of favorites that I have, kind of the usual suspects. There's the tiger swallowtails that are here. There's going to be the big yellow black ones if we're fortunate enough to see them. There's also one that I really like called the California sister, which is flying around right now.
Okay.
And yeah, what do you think butterflies, what do they usually eat?
Do they eat from the pollen or
the
nectar?
That's a typical answer, and that's usually true, and that's true of most of our butterfly species. But the California sister actually eats dung and carcasses sometimes, and they're actually related.
That really got the short end of the stick on
food, for how beautiful
it
is. It's a little surprising to see it.
Now, what does the California sister look like if somebody was just out here and wanted to see a cool butterfly like that?
It's got it's orange and black, kind of orange on the tip, and it's kind of unmistakable with that color pattern here.
So I just want to give a shout out to some of our friends that are joining us on Facebook. Maurice, I'm glad that you're enjoying your Get Outdoors Day from Winter Park, Florida. Thanks for joining us. And Arlene, I'm glad that you're enjoying your hike in Gloucester Park. I hope you're having a great day outside. So everybody keep commenting because I want to see how you're getting outside just like we are, because outdoors, nothing beats it. Nature, absolutely beautiful. Tell me about this log. This
yeah.
log
So we were talking
right
about
here,
woodpeckers,
super
and maybe
interested.
there's a couple plants we can talk about right over here as well. So this is a granary log. So the acorn woodpeckers are using usually dead tree branches or limbs, but they'll also use things like telephone poles or houses, whatever's there. So you can see, if you kind of explore these, the acorns might not be in there because other bugs, other animals are getting to them, but you can really see just how many they store.
Ooh, this almost feels like a little, it's like dense, it's kind of wet a little bit even.
Yeah. So right, it's still probably retaining some of the moisture from all the rain, even though it's dried out here. Yeah. And then back here we also have the native grapevine as well. On
Is
this
that
tree.
what's growing around this tree right here?
Yeah, exactly. Be careful of the poison oak
I'm
near
gonna
it, 'cause
avoid
that's also
what you just told me right here.
Yeah, and that's also a vine.
But this is the grapevine right here?
So of course we're known for our grapes in Napa Valley, but I think it's really amazing and a cool connection that here in the forest, this is the native grape. It's kind of the underpinning of the grape and wine industry. There's some kind of, I'm not an expert in it, but some sort of grafting process that goes with that in a lot of cases. So
that would make a lot of sense to see a grapevine here in Napa Valley.
Yeah, right. So I think that's a draw too, is people can hike and get a different setting and see it as well after they've done their wine tasting or maybe before.
For everybody just joining us right now, we are currently here in Napa Valley for Get Outdoors Day. Keep sharing your comments below. I want to hear where you are today and where you're experiencing your Get Outdoors Day. And we're here with Jay, who's the park expert, and he's also here to answer your questions, so keep firing away. We are approaching something that I have to say is kind of blowing my mind a little bit.
Yeah, it's impressive. So we're coming up on the redwoods. Like I said, we're kind of in the oak woodland, and we're kind of in that transition area where we're going to the mixed forest of redwoods and Douglas firs. So why don't you go ahead and walk in first? And
let's
again,
take
careful of the poison oak, but
this journey right inside.
So the first thing I always tell people to do up here is to look up. Right?
I mean, looking up, this is just impressive. How old are some of these trees that are here?
Yeah, well, what's interesting about this grove is, we've got the easternmost redwoods. There's a few remnant ones kind of a little further on, but in sort of in bulk, we feature those here, so that's neat. We do get fog that the redwoods really need here. What's interesting, I mean, they're impressive to look up, but most of these are really like teenage trees. So we did have some.
Okay, these are some pretty impressive teenagers. Look at they're gigantic.
Yeah, it's still impressive, still amazing. And I think another really neat element is we're standing in the middle of where a grandfather or grandmother tree was, because the redwood trees share a root system.
So they all grow around that. That's what you mean?
They
by
do,
that?
yeah. Whether it was cut down or it fell by lightning, and you can see some of the parent trees around there too that are stumps. So those were definitely cut, and then you see the kids of those. And one thing we do junior ranger programs here, and I like to have the kids, sometimes count them. And I've had some that have ended up counting every single sapling. So they're in the hundreds, and that's surprising. It's great. I learned something.
Yeah.
I'm counting a certain number, and they're like, here's hundreds.
So we're surrounded.
So we've got the
by
babies
trees.
right on the edge too. Yeah.
Now, what is this? This bark is so different than anything I've seen. It kind of comes down in strips. What's unique about this bark?
Yeah, well, for one, it's permeable, so it takes in, it's not the main way that it takes in fog, but that's part of it. It's got that softness that it can retain the moisture.
It's very soft.
Right through its skin, right? And it's antifungal for one thing, and that's why it's such a great building material too. But it also, the way in addition that it gets its water is from the canopy, so we get these fogs that come in. You can get up to 2 inches of rain just captured in the canopy and falling down. And of course the root systems might touch the creek too, and that's another way that it gets water.
And that's how these trees can really grow to impressive heights, because they live in just like this really great rain environment.
Right, yeah, rain mixed, we get the big winter rains, but the fog is what they really need to have that year round.
What's the most impressive thing? I mean, you're out here all the time with these redwoods. What do you just like blows your mind every single time?
I think coming to this grove, and every time that I bring people here, having them look up, I'm just astounded again. And I remember that these aren't the biggest redwoods, but they're amazing, and it just makes me want to travel more around the state and see even more. So, you know, and to know that they're the easternmost, this is kind of the edge of their range.
Yeah.
I
highly recommend
impressive.
everybody coming out here and just looking up, taking a moment, taking a breath, just looking up, because there's nothing better. It is just stunning.
Yeah,
So we're gonna
gorgeous right along the creek too.
I
right?
know. You can just hear the water, and then it's just like this moment of peace. It's like that moment of Zen. Now we're gonna keep walking up here right now. What is unique kind of about the stream that is coming through this area?
So first of all, it's a watershed for the Napa River. So this is Ritchie Creek. It flows into the Napa River, which flows not too far away into the ocean. So we do have ocean-going trout, which are usually commonly referred to steelhead. We're hoping to bring back their range a little bit more and protect it, and we want to bring them back more fully. But we sometimes still find the small fry here, you know, that's always fun to see, especially when we're with the kids. It's also spring-fed, so the fact that we have
Creek. We're back. You know, anything can really happen when you are doing a live right in the middle of the outdoors, but we got your back. We're here now. So while we were trying to get back on, Jay found something really interesting that he wants to show you. What do you have
so this
here?
is California bayleaf. This is, if you're walking in the forest in California, if you're not familiar with the California forest, this is often something you're gonna smell as you're walking
like
by.
The kind of bay leaf that you would cook with?
Well, it's a cousin to the Mediterranean bay that you cook with. It's a little spicier. Some people, first of all, I should say I picked this case since I'm a naturalist here and a guide, right? And since we're doing this special, you know, we picked it to smell it, but just for you at home. We don't normally do that unless
don't
we're
do
with a
that at home.
naturalist. But yeah, so it's a little spicier. So some people who grow that in their garden, once it's dried out, use it in soups like they would for the Mediterranean Bay.
This is very, very spicy smelling. I got it right up to my nose, and it's right up in there.
Yeah, and people tend to love it or hate it. What do you think?
I enjoy this a lot.
Yeah.
It smells really good.
Yeah,
I almost want to put it like in a potpourri.
You can carry it around for a while.
Yeah, it smells nice. So I just want to remind everybody that we're here in Napa Valley for Get Outdoors Day. And also a reminder, coming up on July 9th, Sunday, July 9th, we have another great live special. If you want to see wildlife, it's called Earth Live, and it's going to absolutely blow your mind. So I think we're coming up. I can also hear the stream.
Yeah,
That's
there's
coming
actually a
up
good
over here.
place over here where we can go directly to the creek, maybe do a couple hands-on things. We do hikes here, we do junior ranger programs, so you'll get a little taste of some of those things we do, the activities that we do in the park on a weekly basis in the summer.
So what are some of the things that you like to show people down here at the stream?
It's just a beautiful spot. Whenever you can get up close. You want to go ahead first?
I'm gonna cross over.
Okay, cool. I'll follow you in this case. Yeah.
So I'm gonna not trip over this log because that would be really embarrassing. But this is just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and in the backdrop there are a bunch of giant chain ferns. So not those specific specimens, but that fern is the largest in North America as well. And it's gorgeous backdrop. And the creek, again, we were talking a little bit about what's in it. So in terms of fish, there's not a lot of water, right? There's a steelhead occasionally. We also take groups here and they look for aquatic insects. So, and that always kind of surprises people because we get to compare insects that start their life cycle in the creek and then, become flying insects. And so one I'd just like to feature.
Can we maybe
Sure,
go
we can.
check
Yeah,
them
we can
out?
go a little closer
Yeah.
and I'll tell you more about it.
We're gonna take some careful steps down here because
Sure.
this
Yeah,
looks,
follow me in this case.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna take your lead.
And there's no poison oak right down here at the creek, so we don't have to worry about it right here.
I think I'm gonna go this way. This looks like the safer bet for me. There's more rocks for me to not fall over.
Careful
There we
there.
go. So I'm seeing, actually, what's this very unique rock that's right here?
Yeah, so that's, we've got different kind of lava rocks, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but that's a kind of pumice, right? And
A lava rock
yeah, so there has been some
in
volcanic.
Napa Valley.
Yeah, there's some volcanic activity. We have deposits of ash here
Okay.
that go as deep as 800 feet. You can see that some in the
In
road.
this park, you can see that.
Yeah, you can see that some in road cuts near here. You can't see it so much. Sometimes when a tree comes down, you'll see it underneath. And the creek as well, we have a lot of questions about that. It clouds up in the spring or with a lot of winter spring runoff. And so it almost has that kind of glacier look, but it's from the ash. It's from the ash underground kind of feeding into the stream.
And it's kind of amazing that it just crops up in the stream here.
Yeah, it does. In fact, one of the activities we do is some face painting with the kids, and you can see.
Face painting with what? What are the kind of
Yeah,
things
so
you can
there's
face
there's
paint with?
actually some ash rock. We get it wet. Let's make sure I get the right one here. Sometimes you just have to test, right? And sometimes it's a mix of mud and ash, or sometimes just the ash, or you can see clay as well.
So is the clay it's a red color, and the ash
It
is
is.
more of this, it's like a sandy white
White
color.
or green, yeah. So are you game to put some on?
This is gonna go on my face?
If you wanted to.
Yes,
Yeah,
this looks
cool.
like nature's free
Yeah.
facial.
I just have to find the actual rocks now.
I have a question for you first,
Sure.
from Leroy. He wants to know what type of hummingbirds are around the park, if there's any.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, we get the Allen's hummingbird and the Anna's hummingbird, so it's kind of easy to remember. Those are the two main. We might have a couple other ones. Yeah, and I think somebody actually moved my rock. So if you can take some questions while I find.
Sure, I'll definitely
that
do
happens in a park, right?
Yeah. Are there any? Heather wants to know: are there any other outdoor activities that people can do while in this park?
Yeah, so there's the pool that I talked about. There's horseback riding. Right now we don't have a concessionaire. That might change in the future, hopefully. And also some mountain bike riding. Not a lot here, but there's as part of our park system. So we're part of the Napa County Regional Park and Open Space District. So we've got other trails near here too. which are great for mountain biking. And we can direct people to that, you know, if they're
Great.
in the area.
Well, why don't you look for some of these clay
Yeah,
rocks?
thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, somebody moved them, so.
And I'm just going to say thank you, Christine, for hiking in the Rifle River Recreation Area in Lupton, Michigan. I hope you're enjoying your day. That sounds beautiful. And Ronnie, you're spending your Get Outdoors Day in Yellow Creek Park playing disc golf. That sounds like a pretty unique activity, so that sounds like a pretty good choice for your Get Outdoors Day. Everybody keep commenting. I want to know where you are spending your Get Outdoors Day, because today is the best day to get outside, and you should be telling me where you are. And also keep firing away with your questions for Jay, because he's the expert. He has got your back. He knows all of the answers to your questions. And I also just want to say hi to our friends at Nature Valley, because they are amazing. And just a reminder, we are here with National Geographic for Get Outdoors Day, and be sure to watch Earth Live on July 9th if you want to continue to see another amazing alive event with wildlife and nature. It's 2 hours long, and it's going to be pretty good 2 hours. You should probably watch it.
All right, you ready for the face paint?
I'm game. Let's do this.
Cool. Did you want tiger stripes, or what do you want? That's usually what I ask
Can you
kids.
draw like a really cool animal design?
I'm not quite there. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm working on it, but I'm good with the stripes or whatever. Chin,
Okay.
nose, cheeks.
Anything you can
Okay.
do. Here we go.
Oh, all right. This should have good consistency. By the way, too, Calistoga is known
Ooh.
for its mud baths
That
and facials
yeah.
as well with the volcanic mud and ash. So this is getting this for free, so people can come down to the creek and do any of our
That is
programs and
definitely
ask about
very
that.
cold.
Yeah,
And-
we'll do one more stripe on each.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very
great for your
muddy,
skin.
and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is probably a really good look, but I can feel it I can feel like, is this mineral? It's obviously mineral water, right? That's coming down in this creek.
Spring water,
Spring
yeah.
water,
Spring
okay.
flood water, yeah. Yep.
So I can almost like feel it,
yeah,
that cool feeling.
yeah. It's nice to have them.
And who else can wear volcanic ash on their face? Like, where
Right.
else can
This
you
is-
go? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an ancient practice, and like I said, it's you can do it for free here, and yeah, it feels great.
And you can also wear this clay on your face too, right?
Right, there's the clay and the ash, so I'll do it as well.
Yeah,
I usually
so
like to join in
we
with
can
it.
be partners
Yeah.
in ash facialness together
Cool,
here.
yeah. And also down here, we're not seeing it today, but we do see banana slugs down
What
here
is a
as
banana
well.
slug?
So a banana slug, it looks like it sounds, and people who've been to Northern California hiking are familiar with it. You know, it's just bright yellow, but it can have patterns on it as well.
Okay.
And yeah, we can look around and see if we see any. And
Yeah, because I know like you can probably see some pretty interesting things among these rocks, I would imagine.
right, yeah, we're often down here exploring both the aquatic environment and kind of the terrestrial environment.
What else
as
might you
well.
see besides a slug?
So, you know, there's in terms of kind of what people think of creepy crawlies or things like that, scorpions, but small ones,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
I do not want to see a scorpion.
No.
So if you see the scorpion, please tell me first, because I'm gonna
Yeah, they probably
run
won't
in
be.
the opposite
They probably won't be
direction
in
and
this
say, "See ya."
environment, and they're not poisonous like people think. So they're,
Okay,
they're
well,
pretty.
that's
They
good.
do have a sting, but it's more like a bee sting.
Okay.
Um,
So what does a banana slug look like, so I know what I
Yeah,
should be
just
seeing?
if we're walking slow here, so if you're watching your step, it's gonna be yellowish, or like I said, a pattern, and we'll see. It's kind of drying up around here, so we may or may not see one.
Okay.
I was out here yesterday and saw one. So
I know, it's like, I feel like wildlife is probably pretty hit or miss.
yeah,
You
right.
might not always see one. Or any kind of wildlife in general. That's like, you know, you can't predict. It's like watching
Right,
water
right.
boil.
Yeah.
You don't know when it's going to happen.
We'll just look in the vicinity where we found it before.
So what are some other unique things that you can see out here that you just always are fascinated with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really more being, I think we've discussed most of those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's being in this environment, having the access to the water, some of the large things like the giant chain fern, the redwoods, the pileated woodpeckers. I mean, there's some of those things that are you know, amazing. But it's the subtle things too, right? I think it's just being down here, being at the creek, we don't have huge waterfalls or things like that. But once you settle into it, you know, that's what this.
I mean,
this
it's
whole,
kind of just like, look at what we're surrounded in right now.
Yeah, I think
this
that's
is
the
just
highlight.
absolutely gorgeous. Well, thank you so much for being out here with us today. And thanks to all of you watching. This has been an absolutely beautiful day and beautiful experience. And I hope you are enjoying your Get Outdoors Day. I am Ashley Kalina, and this is Jay Jessen.
Right.
And we have been so grateful that you have gone on this wonderful journey with us. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Get Outdoors Day. Bye.